welcome to another edition of Breakfast Central. Thank you for joining us this morning. We hope that you've been able to keep up with our content on YouTube and all social media platforms at News Central TV. For the next 3 hours, we are together working through some of the biggest stories in the country. I am Olive Emodi.
And I'm Joe Hansen, saying welcome. And by the way, you look amazing.
Thank you. I'm glad you noticed. I got a new dress.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really, you did?
Yes, it's a new dress. I've not worn it before.
Oh, okay, I see. I mean, that means the economy is really not affecting.
No, it's just because I understand that I prioritize my News Central role. My role here as News Central TV anchor for our flagship show. I prioritize it such that I'm willing to inconvenience myself to buy new outfits. And, you know, just as a way to say that I'm committed to looking the part while sounding the part.
That's quite thoughtful, you know.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
But Nigerians don't think like you're thinking. If we do a research or a report right now or an analysis, we'll find out that a cross-section of Nigerians don't agree that they have
which one calls cross-section of Nigerians?
Okay, they cut across those who have a job and those who don't have a job.
Well, let's just say that those people are not working for News Central. If they were working for News Central, they would understand that News Central is really one of the best places to work, and you'll be glad to give your best.
Absolutely.
And look your best.
I agree with
you. Just like you look your best.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. 100%.
And sharp haircuts.
100%. Yes, we're back on the block.
I can see that.
We're back. Well, it feels good to be back, and it feels good to be here on a Thursday. Do you know, I almost thought today was a Friday. You know, I was like, man, it's weekend. But then I remember that I'm going to miss breakfast so much.
It happened. You know. Started again. Instead of you to be honest, they are going to be happy.
No, I'm going to.
Then I'll be even like a content creator. Are you Simon Èkpá?
No, you're talking about Simon Èkpá. That starts our wake-up conversation this morning. By the way, I want to say welcome. Don't forget you can tweet us on X. You can check us out. Drop your comments. Let us know what you think. Also, don't forget that you can let us know what the conversations really mean to you, especially the ones we bring on wake-up conversations, when we bring on the show. We've had interview, the Kenneth Okonkwo interview, quite shockingly, is getting the numbers and having people talk. If you haven't seen it, go on YouTube, check it out. I think he spilled a lot and he spoke his mind, and you would agree and you would disagree. Whatever you feel like, just go ahead.
Yeah, I've been seeing clips of the Kenneth Okonkwo interview, and people taking quotes out of it. They seem to agree with some of the things that he said in the video. The people who seem very pleased with what he had said in the interview. If you haven't yet seen it, there's a two-part interview. We had the first part posted up 2 days ago. That was when the interview happened, and we had another one yesterday. So check News Central's YouTube to get the Kenneth Okonkwo interview. And he spoke about a number of things. He spoke about the Labour Party and their preparedness or lack of it for the 2027 presidential elections, and how the Labour Party, as is currently constituted, is not ready to be a vehicle to produce not the exact words, but not ready to be a vehicle to produce the next president. He also talked about the coalition and said that all these parties, they need to decide first what vehicle, that is what political party, before they decide who the flag bearers of this political party is. And this is because, of course, Nigerians have been wondering, is it this SDP, is it the Labour Party, are they moving to the PDP?
Today being the 4th of June of 2025, the trial of Mr. Simon has continued in essence. Today's court hearing kicked off at about 12:30 p.m. with Simon and the prosecuting legal counsel team in attendance. The court section started with the judge rendering a brief and quick remark on how the court section today would look like and play out. After the speech, the prosecuting lawyer started by thanking the judge. He also informed the judge that he will be bringing up his fourth witness. This witness is an officer from the NBI, which also means the National Bureau of Investigations. The prosecuting lawyer called up the officer codenamed T4, which probably might mean testifier 4 or testifier number 4. He asked T4 to take the stand. T4 walked up to the stand and did all necessary rites needed to be done. The prosecuting lawyer asked T4, "Who are you and why are you here today?" T4 replied, "I work with the NBI and I'm here to testify against the suspect," while pointing at Simon, who was seated with his lawyer. "You said you work for the NBI?" the prosecuting lawyer asked. "Yes," replied the officer codenamed T4. "In what capacity, if I may ask?" The officer said, "I headed the unit that thoroughly investigated this man here while pointing at Simon, who was seated calmly. The prosecuting lawyer asked T4, after investigating him, what did you find? Well, we found a lot of evidence. In fact, we found chains of evidence that we managed to gather in less than 4 months. The prosecuting lawyer replied by saying, are you going to present your findings to us today? T4 replied by stating, definitely. The prosecuting lawyer asked, are these documents the authentic or just photocopies? T4 said, I have with me some duplicate copies, but if the court wants the original, I will furnish the court without any form of hesitation. Well, before we continue with what played out in the courtroom afterwards, let's do some quick analysis. Hope you guys are paying attention on what is playing out in the courtroom. An officer was brought before the court to give testimonies that will be used against Simon. We notice that the prosecuting lawyer is just wasting time by asking irrelevant questions. Maybe he's trying to mount pressure on Simon and the legal counsel team, or maybe he's trying to buy time for himself. We will definitely find out. Let's go back to the courtroom and see what followed suit afterwards. Back in the courtroom, the prosecuting lawyer asked T4, from your investigations, what can you say about this man? Asked the prosecuting lawyer. This man is a terrorist, replied T4. At this point, Simon and his legal counsel team got really angry, and this is when full-scale drama played out in the courtroom. The prosecuting lawyer asked again, do you think this man is innocent? Simon's lawyer stood up and said, my lord, these people don't have anything meaningful to present to us in this court. This man has been asking a lot of irrelevant questions. I can't sit here and let this nonsense continue. My client has been very angry and would like to speak. Yes, let's do some quick analysis, just in case you don't understand. Things are getting intense in the courtroom. Simon's lawyer has informed the court that Simon would want to say a word or two because he is not too satisfied with the accusations coming from the witness, codenamed T4. Well, let's go back to the courtroom and see what played out. Simon stood up and walked to the stands. At this point, nobody knew what he had in mind. Nobody knew the intentions or the goals of Simon. Simon entered the stands. He was sworn in as a testimonial and not a witness. The judge gave Simon the permission to speak, and what he said was very, very emotional. Let's listen. Simon kicked off by saying, Your Honor, members of the jury, my family, and my friends, I stand before you today accused of a crime that I did not commit. The weight of these false accusations crushes me. To be labeled a terrorist, a threat to society, is a burden heavier than any chains. My heart aches with the injustice of it all. I have always strived to live a life of peace, of service, of love for my community. The evidence presented, I believe, will show that this accusation is a cruel misunderstanding, a tragic error. I trust in the fairness of this court, and I pray that the truth will prevail. My faith in justice remains unshaken, even in the face of this overwhelming adversity. Thank you. At this point, there were full-scale silence in the courtroom because nobody was expecting this to play out like it just did. Let's do some quick analysis. As you can all see and hear, Simon has rendered a speech nobody was expecting, not even T4, the NBI officer. We all believe that if Simon takes the stand, he will probably quarrel with the prosecuting lawyer, but that was not the case at all. He came in, made a short, emotional speech, and left the whole court in silence. And this was a perfect opportunity for Simon's lawyer to jump in and change the atmosphere, which he did. Let's go back to the courtroom and see what followed suit immediately after Simon rendered that heartwarming speech. Back in the courtroom, Simon's lawyer stood up and said, My lord, as you can see, my client here is very, very sober because of the way and manner he has been treated over time in detention. My client here is innocent and he would like to cross-examine T4, who claims to be an officer from the NBI. The prosecuting lawyer stood up immediately and objected the request coming from Simon's lawyer. The judge replied by saying, the suspect has the right to cross-examine the witness. In fact, the accused or suspect can question witness during the trial. This is an essential part of ensuring a fair trial and allowing the defense to challenge the evidence presented against them. The judge gave Simon the green light to cross-examine the officer. Let's do some quick analysis. As you can see, for the very first time, the Court of Law has granted Simon the permission and the authority to cross-examine a witness brought before the courtroom today. That is to say, Simon will cross-examine T4, a man who is an officer from the NBI, which simply means an officer from the National Bureau of Investigation. So Simon has this ample opportunity to cross-examine this officer and get info from him, deduce info and data from this man, and also know the level of fact and evidence he has, or the document he has, that he wants to use against Simon. This is where things got really, really interesting. The conversation had between Simon and this officer is very, very intense and remarkable. This is something you wouldn't want to miss at any point. So if you find this video interesting, please do well to subscribe and turn on post notifications. Thanks. Let's go back to the courtroom and see what followed suit. After the court granted Simon the green light, he started by saying, "Thank you, my lord, for instituting my right as an accused. Thank you, and I appreciate this kind gesture." Simon continued. Simon started by saying, "Tifo, you stated repeatedly that I am a terrorist. Is that correct?" Tifo replied by saying, "Yes, based on the evidence gathered during the investigation. That is my professional assessment." Simon continued by saying, "Your professional assessment? Is that what you call it? You've labeled me, a man who has lived peacefully in this country for decades, a terrorist. What specific actions led you to this conclusion?" Tifo continued by saying, or replied by saying, "The evidence points to your involvement in planning and supporting activities that could be classified as such. We have evidence of your communications." Simon interrupted Tifo by saying, "Communications? You mean the encrypted messages you claim I sent? Have you considered that those messages could be misinterpreted?" Tifo replied by saying, "We have analyzed the context, the language used, the targets discussed. They align with terrorist activities." Simon continued by saying, "Targets discussed. Are you referring to the online forum where I expressed frustration with the government?" Frustration, Mr. Tifo, is not terrorism. It's a right I exercise like many others. Did you find any evidence of actual violence, of attacks planned or executed by me? Tifo replied by saying, "The planning was evident in the coded language. We believe you are providing guidance." Simon interrupted the Tifo by saying, "Guidance? Or perhaps just sharing my opinion, my thoughts. Is that a crime now? Is it a crime to disagree with the government, to express anger?" Simon continued by saying, "So my words, my opinions are now enough to brand me a terrorist. Have you considered the possibility that somebody or someone might be trying to frame me, that the messages could be fabricated or manipulated?" Tifo replied by saying, "We have considered all possibilities. Our analysis is thorough." Simon interrupted by saying, "Thorough or biased? Did you look at my life, my history, my community involvement? Did you speak to my neighbors, my friends, the people who know me?" Tifo replied by saying, "We spoke to those individuals." Simon continued by saying, "And what did they say? Did they paint me a picture of a terrorist or a man who loves his family, who helps the community, who has always strived to live a peaceful life?" Tifo pauses and continued by saying, "Some of them expressed surprise." Simon continued with, "Surprise? Because they know the truth, don't they? They know that I am not a monster you've painted me to be. So tell me, investigator, or Tifo as they fondly call you in court, on what solid, undeniable evidence do you base your claim that I am a terrorist? Because from where I stand, it looks like you are trying to destroy my life based on assumptions, on interpretations, and on narrative that suits you." Before we continue, let's do a quick analysis of what we think is currently going on here. As you can see, that was a good showing from Simon. This man has confidently asked the right questions and defended and expressed himself clearly. Wow, this clearly shows that Simon happens to be a lawyer. Yes, because this man runs and operates a law firm known as Èkpá and Co. OY. This guy has shown that he is actually a lawyer by asking the right questions and defending himself perfectly, with no mistakes or without any form of errors. Wow, at this point, nobody knows what is coming next. But Simon follows suit by asking Tifo to present documents to the courtroom. Let's go back to the courtroom and see what happened next. Simon continued by saying, "Investigator Tifo, you've accused me of terrorism, specifically related to my online activities. Is that correct?" Tifo said, "Yes. Based on the investigation, the evidence points to your involvement in activities that could be classified as such." Simon continued by saying, "And these documents, I presume, are the basis of your claims." Tifo replied by saying, "Precisely. These documents contain transcripts of your online communications, financial records, and analysis of your online work." Simon continued by saying, "Let's start with the transcript. Can you specify which communications you deem as evidence of terrorist intent?" Tifo opens a file, pulls out a document, and brought out a paper or a pile of documents titled Exhibit A. And T4 continued by saying, this is a transcript of a private message exchange where you discussed acquiring arms and targeting government buildings. Simon replied by saying, discussed? Investigator, are you suggesting I was actively planning to attack government-owned building, or are you interpreting a hypothetical conversation? Can you show me any evidence that I actually acquired those materials? T4 brought out a different pile of documents titled Exhibit B. He said, these are financial records showing several large transfers to individuals known to be involved in that groups. Simon replied by saying, and how do you know these individuals are involved in extremist groups? What is the nature of these groups? Can you provide evidence of my knowledge of their alleged activities? These transfers were for my businesses and not for any other thing else. T4 presents another document titled Exhibit C. He said, analysis of your online network showing you were a key node in a network that shared criminal propaganda and incited violence. Simon replied by saying, propaganda? Yes. Incitement? No. Can you show me specific instances where I directly called for violence? Did I directly command anyone to commit any violent act? T4 retrieves a document titled Exhibit D. This is a document showing the link between your online activities and the real-world attacks. Simon replied by saying, I see. So you are saying that my online activity caused these attacks? Did you find any direct link? Or did you just find that the perpetrators may have read my posts? What evidence do you have that my words were the direct cause of these actions? T4, which is the officer from the NBI, remained calm. And he continued by saying, the evidence suggests a clear pattern of influence and incitement. Simon continued by saying, influence perhaps, but influence is not a crime. I am a writer and I have the right to express my opinions, even if they are unpopular. Incitement requires a direct call to action, which, as you have shown, is not present in this document. The document you present, while they may be concerning, do not prove that I committed any crime. And these are the exact words coming from Mr. Simon. Interestingly, the whole conversation between Simon and T4, the officer from the NBI, went on and on. A lot of conversations were had that if we have to put all of these conversations in this video, it's going to take us a long time to produce and to publish. So we are going to cut off this whole conversation here and move on to the next. In the next court hearing, the NBI, together with the prosecuting lawyer, plan on presenting for the very first time official documents that probably will be admitted into the court as fact and evidence. So tomorrow's video is going to be a massive one because tomorrow court hearing, documents will be presented, evidence will be presented in the court of law, and a lot of things will be said. So tomorrow's video is going to be one of the biggest videos or court hearings that have played out ever since this whole thing kicked off. It's going to be a massive one. So if you want to be among the very first individuals to get these videos as soon as it drops, do well to subscribe and turn on post notifications. But then interestingly, yesterday, an American, a citizen of the USA, testified in favor of Simon in the court of law. Yes, this individual came up to testify in favor of Simon, trying to put Simon in a very good light. Yes, just in case you've missed that video, or just in case you haven't seen that video, we have that video right on this channel, and I want you to watch that video because if you watch that, you get a better understanding of what played out today in the court of law. So if you want to watch that video and get full updates, a better picture and an illustrative pattern, we have that video showing right now on your screen. So click on this video to watch and understand. Click on this video and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for watching.
Breaking news. Fake news caused the Nigerian Biafran war. Obasanjo speaks concerning the cause of the Biafran war. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wonderful people, lovers of freedom all over the world. Wherever you're joining us from today, you're highly welcome to this wonderful YouTube channel. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel, turn on your notification, and we will notify you whenever we drop our spanking news. Now, let us go straight up to this important information from the former president of the Zoological Republic of Animal Kingdom, Nigeria, in the person of Olusegun Obasanjo, who has come out to say that the major cause of the Biafran Nigerian war, is or was fake news. For me, it wasn't about fake news. It wasn't about fake news. There was more to the war than just coming out to say it was caused by fake news. But let us hear from the former president, in his statement. The news in detail. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has said disinformation played a significant role in the Nigerian Civil War, 1967 to 1970. Obasanjo stated this at the 6th edition of Annual Nigerian Civil War Symposium organized by the Army War College Nigeria (AWCN) on Wednesday in Abuja. He said, the theme of the symposium, which is the role of disinformation in the Nigerian Civil War, was germane, especially in the era of asymmetric warfare. According to him, disinformation, propaganda, psychological warfare, and propagation of false narratives are means through which a weaker force attempts to discredit a superior force in asymmetric wars. Disinformation played a significant role in the Nigerian Civil War, exacerbating tensions and influencing public opinion. The same strategy is currently being employed by the insurgents in the northeast and other violent groups in other parts of Nigeria. In line with the theme, the symposium will therefore highlight the importance of media and information operations in conflict resolution and nation building, he said. The former president emphasized the need for Nigeria to be deliberate and diligent in the study of history, particularly military history, to bring out and apply valuable lessons. He quoted a popular saying that a child does not learn history will be told history. A child who doesn't learn history will be told history, adding that understanding the past would help to better navigate the present and build a more equitable future for all Nigerians. Obasanjo commended AWCN for the inclusion of the study of the Nigerian Civil War in its curriculum to enhance the capacities of operational level leaders to effectively apply the lessons from past campaigns in operational planning. This fratricidal conflict left an indelible mark on our nation's collective memory and continues to shape our identity. The WAR's complex causes, consequences, and lessons offer valuable insights for us all, he added. The Chief of Army Staff, COAS, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyode, who was presented by Major General P.E. Eromosele, described the symposium as a vital platform for nurturing intellectual capacity within the military. Oluyede praised the team's relevance to current operations and reiterated the Army's commitment to building a combat-ready force guided by sound leadership and informed strategy. Earlier, the commandant of AWCN, Major General Umar Akali, said the symposium was designed to enhance the intellectual and leadership capacity of officers undergoing the AWCN course 9 2025. Akali said the college deliberately included the study of the Civil War in its curriculum to help participants dissect and draw practical lessons from historical campaigns. He said the team aligned with the Chief of Army Staff's command philosophy to build a combat-ready and professional force capable of delivering on its constitutional responsibility within a joint environment. Okay, that is that on that issue. Now, the only thing I have to say is that there is a lot of falsehood, in what Olusegun Obasanjo is saying, in as much as he also played a vital role in the Nigerian Biafran War. He illustrated how misinformation often shaped public perception and policy decision during war. I understand this. I understand the issue of immortalization of misinformation, and how it can actually lead, to this to WAR, especially when it comes to asymmetric warfare. We know how these things work, but in Nigerian civil war, it wasn't a matter of misinformation. The same thing that is still driving Biafrans, to fight for the freedom of the people is the same thing that led them so many years ago. And one of the reasons is marginalization. Now, you can agree with me that after so many years, our people are still being subjugated to a lot of suffering. Our people are being marginalized in different ways. Now, enter politically. You will see that our people are being marginalized. When it comes to infrastructures, our people are being marginalized. The good part of this whole thing is that Biafrans are so, blessed to the extent that most of these things, they do not even put their attention in it. Because if they did, honestly speaking, no Biafran will come out with his or her full chest, and be happy. And be happy to have any business to do with the zoo. No, none. That is why people are still fighting for the freedom of their people. So it is beyond, misinformation and all this blabbing. Olusegun Obasanjo is saying. It is. Now let us even move to should we even move to the talk of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? Now, is it misinformation that is causing the zoo army to continue to threaten the peace of people living in Biafran land? These are the questions we should be asking ourselves. You go to a particular community, you send in equipment to destroy a particular place, and you're cool with it because, you don't want this particular set of people to function. After all, a sitting president once came out and called a particular set of people that you fought against a dot in the circle. You don't rate them at all. So the Biafran war thing is something that has been there. It is beyond misinformation. It is beyond lack of information. It is beyond just mere controversy. Nothing. People are being, they are not being deceived. Within themselves, they know the truth and they know the reality. They know that their people are being, marginalized in different ways. But the important information he made is in the issue of teaching the younger generation how the history of their land is. And I urge every Biafran and every Biafran family, try as much as possible to teach your children about the history of Biafra. If not, they will take in whatever they are being taught. Let them learn. Let them learn the truth. Let them learn the history of Biafran. It will help their mind. It will shape their mind ahead to what they want and what they can achieve. It's as simple as that. Thank you once again for joining us on this important information that we needed to clarify to every Biafran. Please make sure you share this video to as many groups, to as many platforms as possible.